Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to show you guys a new brand that has come out, or at least they're claiming to be a new brand. There are brands that pop up all the time. Sometimes they handle their own manufacturing, sometimes they don't. Overseas in China, there's also kind of an interesting dynamic where manufacturing will come together, do a knife, and then move on to other projects that have nothing to do with knives. So sometimes they come, sometimes they go. So I was interested in this one because it is a new company. They do their own manufacturing. The design looked pretty nice, and so I was curious to try out the quality. So the company is called Miguron Knives, and this model specifically is the Centurion. And I guess the guy behind the manufacturing side is Sam Lau, and there's a collector here in the States, Scott Lawson, who helped give some design input on this knife. So here's the certificate of authenticity, all the information associated with this knife, and claims of quality and so forth. This is their second model. Their first model was, definitely an overbuilt, oversized, kind of chunky knife. I don't know that it really did well for them. This model is doing much better. Their distributor, White Mountain Knives, I think this is the only configuration they have left in stock. Most of the others have sold out. So this is a standard carbon fiber. They had a red one and a blue one in terms of red or blue carbon fiber. And let's get this stuff out of the way and jump into these specs real quick. Alright, so we've got our usual suspects here. We've got the Kershaw Dividend, although this one is the new composite blade one, so I upgraded my size comparison model. And then, as always, the Spyderco Paramilitary 2 with the Flytanium scales. So, alright. So, blade length on this thing, about 3 3/4 there. Handle length, just about 5 inches. So, overall, 8.6, 8.7 inches, just about in that range. The blade stock is coming in at 160 thousandths here. So here it is next to the para. You can see the difference in blade stock thickness there. I think the para is 145 thousandths, but I'm not going to measure right now. Something along those lines. I've stated it in many other videos. It does weigh in at 5.5 ounces, so this is a larger, heavier knife as it looks. What are some other measurements here? That's pretty much it for the most part. Ceramic bearings and detent, blade steels M390. You have 2 deployment methods, obviously carbon fiber overlays, and they, milled out the handle and just put carbon fiber over the top. Does save quite a bit of weight in that regard. Let's see, any other, not that these two are close at all, but we'll show you that one. So, all right, I'm going to move these two out of the way, and we'll spend a little bit more time looking at this one, some of the different facets of it. Oh, I just got myself. We'll see if I bleed on camera. Anyhow, so there are some nice touches. You do have a pivot collar here that's probably anodized aluminum. I did disassemble, clean this one, and the pivot is captured on one side, which is always nice. Let's start with the blade here. So it's I don't know if they went to a high grit satin or if they hit it with a buffer wheel at the end. I think I prefer typically a little bit lower grit on the satin finishes here. I don't know, they may have hit it with a buffing wheel a little bit. But, overall the grinds are nice. Came razor sharp. I'm bleeding a little bit. Secondary bevel on both sides is pretty consistent. Maybe a little bit wider here on the show side. Again, that's a very minor type of critique. This thing does show a lot of fingerprints, but overall they did pretty well. Kind of have this nice dip in the blade for your thumb, so that does aid in ergonomics. Flipper tab does have some jimping. Not my favorite shape, but it does work pretty well. And then the nice thing is that the thumb studs work as well. So really good balance here between on the D10 in terms of getting both the flipper and the thumb stud to work. So there's an internal over travel stop as well, but let's take a look at some of the rest of this. I mean, you know, high level here, getting a little bit of blood on myself. High level, the action's good. There's tons of chamfering. The design is aesthetically pleasing. The pocket clip works really well, so they did a lot of things very, very right here on this knife. And we'll look at that a little bit closer so you guys can see kind of all the chamfering. But they didn't leave one hot spot on the knife. So even though this is their second model, everything here indicates they've been doing this much, much longer. One area that they did a good job on is a lot of times companies will leave this area kind of sharp. They did not. They chamfered that. So again, really happy with the execution. Now, you may look at this one and say, you know what, I don't really like the design, or I'd like to see X or Y. And again, everyone's going to have a personal preference, but in terms of the execution of their design and really taking the details into consideration, I think they killed it. I think they did a really, really good job. Lockup is nice and solid. The centering is perfect, of course. The pocket clip is very functional and has plenty of gap. I mean, just everything's well done. Some things that I would perhaps want to see different would be to use a little bit thinner blade stock, and then to perhaps shorten this down to maybe a 3.5-inch blade and kind of shrink the design overall. When you're a new company and you're struggling to find traction, you have to cast the widest net possible. And again, this is common sense for a lot of people, but the design needs to speak to as many people as possible, even if it's on the side of a bit mundane. And what happens is people try it, they like the quality, they become fans of the brand, cheerleaders for the brand, advocates for the brand, and then you can kind of, you know, go into perhaps a little bit more eclectic designs and see who follows, or, you know, ask for consumer feedback. But anyways, this one is more, you know, kind of a wider net essentially than their previous model, but I think it still could do a little bit more to kind of get with the trends at the moment, which again is going to be a little bit smaller and a little bit thinner blade stock. So again, a lot of really good things here. I've enjoyed carrying this one. The ergonomics, really nice. It's just comfortable. It locks the hand in well. You do have a little bit of a kind of a swell here at the pommel, and so it, you know, does get you in there pretty good. So it does inspire a lot of confidence. But if you're looking for, or currently enjoy, or get to carry these larger, kind of more on the overbuilt side, maybe old school kind of ZT vibe stuff, then I think this one would be right up your alley. You know, how well does the steel perform versus other M390? That I can't tell you. Perhaps some of you guys who've spent a lot of time testing your steel would be happy to chime in down below. But anyways, really excellent job. Really good fit and finish. Pretty happy with this one. I'll be curious to see, you know, what they do next, what design they release next, and you know, if they can kind of bring it more in line with current trends. So yeah, that's the Centurion. No, I'm sorry, the Miguron Centurion, yeah. I'll leave a link to the distributor, which seems to be the only place that sells these, and you know, in the mid twos, I think it offers pretty good value, as everyone else is creeping up in prices. So anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. You can follow me on Instagram for daily content, and I have more videos to come as we are in a self-imposed quarantine-ish state at the moment. So see you guys on the next one.